So good morning, welcome to the Dark Moon Radio. This is Kate Sylvanus for a Thursday morning, and it's a bit sort of overcast. It was a warm night. Yes, it was definitely a warm night. I live on a canal, so there is very much on the water, and it was a warmish night. So the dark nights haven't quite got in yet, but the air hasn't got frosty yet. But it's coming. You can feel it's coming. It's definitely jumper weather. But I'm based in England, so the seasons are very, very marked. I've had to travel around the world to learn that how seasons are not as defined. It's like we defined the seasons here and we said this is how it is. And the rest of the world just sort of smiled sweetly and patted us on the head and said, yes, but you have the seasons, we don't. So that's basically why we have seasons. I'm in a strange mood these days. It's like there's a heaviness. I know we're in between a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse, and I know the astrology is heavy right now. The energy is heavy. The people's energy is heavy. We're not happy. And yeah, it's sort of a slog through the mental fog. I always start talking about the collective unconscious at this stage, because it's not you, it's everybody else. Everybody else is all heavy and down, and yeah, there's an awful lot of shit going down, and it's not fun. And yeah, it's like we've just got to get through it. Get through day after day, put one foot after another, keep on moving. Just keep moving, keep smiling. And it's tough. It's a tough time. I don't enjoy this. I'm not enjoying the collective unconscious right now. I'm trying not to be on feedback. I did a 40-hour fast this week and I'm feeling really pleased with myself. I'm smug. So you'll have to forgive me for my smugness. But I required just to clean out. It's a 48-hour fast, Monday and Tuesday, basically, and then sort of moved back into food again. I'll probably do the same again next week, but I'm trying to keep focused and not bog my body down along with everything else, because it's important to keep the discipline, keep the coping mechanisms, keep what works. You know it works, and it's just a matter of keep going and doing it even though you don't see any results or you don't feel any results, or it's not... It's like acting with faith. Now, I've had a lot of conversations with people about faith these days. And just because I am a pagan, and even that term, I'm like, doesn't quite fit, but okay, I'll fit it because it's there. But faith is not necessarily faith in one's God. Faith is in one's self and one's experience and one's knowledge. So I have faith in my experience, what works getting me out of shit times. And I have faith in that, but yes, the word has been co-opted, which is actually quite common in this age. There's an awful lot of words that are no longer ones that you can actually use in the same context. Flicking through the collective unconsciousness, you can really take it the weather from social media. And yes, people are down, always faced with your fear, collective exorcism. What? Don't be surprised if some people appear more unstable than others. Your assignment is to deepen your intimacy with your inner divinity as you observe everything playing out. Yeah, well, that's the weather today, really. Go inside. Go find some coping mechanisms that work. What did you do last time? And that didn't include sort of self-sabotage or things that are self-destructive. That's the way you go for a walk, you move, you exercise, you talk to a friend, you go and look at the sky. That's always my fallback one. Let's go look at the sky. Just look at the sky. What's the sky doing? Even if it's overcast and cloudy. And it's just like, yeah, okay, the sky is still there. It hasn't fallen. So yes, that's the sort of the weather forecast is basically everybody is just behaving a little bit strange, and some more so than others. And social media is not necessarily a good space, but it's amusing, and it's also a coping mechanism. I prefer some social media platforms to others. The political situation is a bit like, meh, really? They go to so much trouble trying to make us feel scared. Yeah, it's instead of making us feel self-conscious and saying it's all your fault, if we all came together in unity, we would be in a better space. It's your fault you can't unite. It's all your fault that... And it's like, oh, come on, peoples. I'm not going to play it's all my fault. I don't agree, and I'm not going to agree. I'm not going to agree with a lot of things. And I'm going to agree with some things and then not everything. So not everybody can come together under the same Unite banner. And that's basically, and you're told you're bad, you're wrong. And it hurts. It hurts, basically. I'm not Christian, right? The whole sort of dark moon is following nature. They call it witchcraft. Some people call it shamanism. It's not our way to come together in the same context as people who are promoting, say, Christianity or Islam. I'm not Islamic. I don't like Islam. I'm not Christian. I can live with Christian. I'm not Jewish. I don't really, relate to that sort of thing because it's not my culture, it's not my background. But somehow I'm meant to relate to Christianity because I was brought up in it. It was like, well, Church of England is one thing. Church of England is fairly like village community and school systems and teaching children how to read and write and things like that. Church of England was fairly easygoing. But Christian nationalism, I'm going to run away screaming into the night, especially when you start talking about Knights Templar and stuff. They did an awful lot of butchery of my kind once upon a time, and the memory is there. Now, we're not going to do that now. Well, that's what they say. That's nice. That's nice. So, yes, looking at this sort of whole... It's like we've gone back to the medieval times when they're all sort of fighting for their religion, fighting for their faith, fighting for their invisible friends. As a pagan, I don't believe in gods. I mean, I'm not a god basher. I'm not going to say my god's better than yours. I am the only god I know. And it's quite controversial, apparently. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not really that controversial for me. I'm going to be different here, thank you, because I don't do your gods. Nature is about as close as I'll get to a deity, an outside deity, because nature created this body and nature created everything we see. Nature is pretty cool. Nature is, it does its thing in amazing ways. And yes, it's predatory, and yes, it can kill you, and everybody needs to eat and feed, so it's like... It's not a nice place sometimes, but other times it can be really beautiful. And it ebbs and flows and there's tides, and that I find wonderful. And that's what I'm here to share with you. The nature of things. And it's the nature of things inside and out. I have a nature. You have a nature. Your nature is your fundamental part of yourself. And there's light parts of your nature and dark parts of your nature. So the ebb and flow of our natures is just reflected in the outside. So it's fall now. It's time to not only go within. I was writing something last night about fall and autumn. I wonder if I can find it. I know where it went. Yeah. There we go. Autumn's secret work. So basically, it's the first bite of autumn air. So there's the temperature has dropped. As I said earlier, it's not a consistent thing. But the other day it was chilly. And there's something the way the season shifts in this country that defines all our clever weather forecasts. One morning the sky is clinging desperately to its watery blues, the next it's collapsed into grey drizzle that only the most optimistic would call a light shower. It buckets down, basically. The blackberries at the towpath and the hedge are already shrivelling. It's basically blackberry season is over. The conkers are hitting the ground with thuds. Yep. So in other words, watch out. They also dent your car. And the geese are leaving. You watch the geese flying overhead. So I often tell myself that autumn is about letting go, right? They love that phrase. It's all over the social media. We're letting go. Things that we don't need, push it behind you. It's splashing all the golden leaves all over is all sort of coating the towpath in greater and greater numbers. Somehow life coaches dispensing Instagram affirmations. Let go now with the season. Right. Now you see, I see something different when I walked the other day. And I was sitting by an oak and a willow. There's lots of willows up and down where I am on the towpath. And I was getting wet. And basically the tree was saying, this is not letting go, it's pulling it all in. And it doesn't quite make sense. Every acorn and every seed is flung outward in a declaration of future possibilities. Every leaf dropping is not despair but discipline, a tactical retreat of energy down into the root. The willow and the oak and the ash and all of these trees are not collapsing into defeat come November. They're busy building their reserves, drawing in strength through hidden threads of mushroom mycelium, storing up what they need deep in their core. We could take a leaf out of their book. They've got enough of them. We should notice what happens to these leaves once they fall. They become compost. They all get mushed down and all the nutrients and nourishment go into the soil. That way nothing is wasted, not even the soggy heaping by the garden fence that some neighbour insists on burning and sending smoke signals to the whole village. The lesson is not release and move on. Not at all. Not for me now. It's draw strength inwards and repurpose. So I think that one of the few countries in the world we do autumn very beautifully. In America they have, I think in Maine or places like that, they have a week where there's beautiful reds and golds. And I think in Japan they also have, I've seen photographs. So we're not alone in this autumn time. And yes, they call it fall, which I'm not falling, all right? I'm not slipping. In Scotland, it's the season of tartan blankets and whiskey breath. So in other words, yes, it's the turn of the seasons, and it's colder up there. So here on the English canals, it's time when spiders appear. Okay, so last night there was a big one above my bed. Now you've got to understand there's only about roughly just over a metre between my bed and the top of the ceiling. So the spider was too close and it was big. So usually you get a cup, but it was too big for a cup. So I managed to find a sort of a container and a big sheet of paper, and I put the cup over the container over the top of the spider, slid the paper through, and then immediately threw the spider out the window. And it was big. I don't mind spiders when they're small. They're fine. There's lots of them in here. I'm not going to complain. The spider, there was one the other day that I got someone else to move because it was just they're huge, and they just you just move the huge ones out and the smaller ones move in, and then one other will get bigger. So I know the cycle of this. And yes, what did I write? When spiders apparently believe they pay the rent and they can move in, taking up in your residence, in your bathroom, your bedroom, with legs the size of bicycle spokes, because they are flipping huge. There's humour in this, there's the sort of, there's bits and pieces that goes on. And it's too early to put the heating on, though I suspect that I've got to start bringing in some wood and coal again. I have a multi-fuel burner, and we're still allowed these at the moment, but there's no other way of heating for the winter. So I buy in coal. Coal is a very good source. It's the smokeless coal, it's the good stuff. Yeah, you just build it up in the fireplace. I can keep it going most of the night, keep it going for the pets if I go out. It's time to just start keeping the boat warm. It's a sad thing. I do enjoy the summer. I do enjoy when the weather is nice. But we've got 6 months now coming in, probably the end of October. Usually October when it starts to get really, really cold. Yeah, we bringing out all the jumpers and winter clothing. They don't smell too good after they've been packed in a box. But anyway, behind the sort of the whole dreariness of the weather is something ancient. Our ancestors marked the seasons with festivals of fire and feast. We've got the harvest festival. We've got the autumn equinox coming up, which is going to be a huge turning point because it's the halfway point. It's the time for sort of bringing in balance. So we're out of balance right now and bringing in balance. And that's on the 22nd. We've also got a partial eclipse at that day. So the energies are huge, but we've also got Samhain. And I love Samhain. I do. I even love the Americanized Halloween that's come in. It's awesome. It's lovely. The children go trick-or-treating. When I had my kids, they were small, we used to go trick-or-treating around the village, and it was a big thing. And we used to go through the graveyard and put a penny on the top of the graveyard and go round it sort of 13 times to see if a hand comes out and takes the penny. The penny seems to disappear. I wonder who took that. But Samhain is a Celtic tradition. Michaelmas in the Christian calendar, and the harvest home across the many villages. These are not only excuses for drinking, though plenty of that happens too, yes, but acknowledgements of the turning of the wheel. The harvest is gathered, the livestock culled, the hearth is prepared, life slows yet deepens. So, my dark moon. You see, the moon, I don't like the moon, all right? I've never been a fan of the moon. Any girlie who has cycles that are sort of timed to the moon, you don't enjoy the whole thing. And there's mood changes and emotional hormonal swings, and it's not fun. They'll talk about lunacy and how the crime rate goes up in a full moon. I like the dark moon. The dark moon is why I chose the name for this, is because you get 3 days of not being pulled all over the place emotionally and hormonally. 3 days where you can be your authentic self. And that's why the dark moon is my thing, if you like. Because there's a space, a breathing space in the whole sort of 28-day, 31-day cycle where you can just be still and just not be pulled around. The water in your body not being dragged around like for tides and stuff. But we'll go into that later. So where does the dark moon spiral into this? The autumn and the lunar rhythm feels sharper. It's almost conspiratorial. The nights lengthen, the shadows stretch, and the moon herself seems to play a subtler game. At the dark moon, when she disappears entirely from the sky, we're granted a moment of honesty. Without her silver pull, we're not lunatics, but ourselves, raw and unlit. And that's the perfect time to mirror the trees. Withdraw not into despair, but into your own roots. What projects require your inward attention? What dreams need feeding at the root level? And dreams, I'm going to divert into another thing, because dreams are quite potent. If you have a real solid dream and you wake up and that dream stays with you right the way through the day, and that's something there. There's a message, there's a attempt to communicate there. And basically the dark moon is a great time to have your own dreams rather than dreams of the collective unconscious. So into your roots. What dreams need feeding at the root level? Also fantasy. I always think fantasy is a very good coping mechanism. Dreams as in the fantasy world. Where are you in your dreams? Are you flying? This is just fantasy. Make believe. Stay in your heads and make believe that, you're somebody different, or you're the same, but maybe go back to your past and rewrite it. It's all fantasy worlds, but building fantasy worlds I don't think is a bad thing. I think if you lose your touch of reality, that's the extreme. But having daydreams about love, romance, about holidays, go on holiday in your head. Go and walk on a beach somewhere. Go walk in a deep forest. You can close your eyes if you like. Some of us can do it, fantasy and daydream. But I think daydreaming is a very, very important thing. And we've kind of, you've got to stay in reality. Why? Reality sometimes sucks. And as long as I know how to come back to reality, I'm not pushing it too far, then daydreaming this is the time for it. This is the time to sharpen your daydreaming and create some really wonderful stories and places to go in your head. Okay, so autumn is a season for strategy, not surrender. Yes, strategy. So we're not letting go. We're not giving up. Where is your attention flows where energy goes. Energy flows where attention goes. So where do we need our energy? And I'm saying we pull back. Pull back, put it into your core being, put it into your body. Because at this time of year it's like time to go inward and make sure your energies are placed in the right place for the winter season. It's no accident that folklore places so many spirits, ghosts and witches in the liminal weeks of October. The land is not dying, it's transforming. And the transformation always attracts attention, both human and otherworldly. Now, spirits, and I will do a whole podcast on this one day, spirits are not necessarily of the dead. In fact, quite frankly, if you're out in nature in the night time, you're probably not dealing with dead humans. You're dealing with creatures. Our eyesight can only pick up so much of a spectrum. The dogs and cats can pick up more. I think there's some animals that can see through all kinds of ultraviolet and all of that. The spectrum misses out. Human eyes are fairly weak and they do their job, but some of us see things that other people can't. And those things don't like being looked at. They don't like being seen. They are timid. And so you will see a little thing and then you're out of the corner of your eye and then you'll look back and it's not there anymore. And so you doubt yourself. But once that happens quite a few times, I'll talk about rods and cones in your eyes and things like that. But I've seen things full on with not just the cones to the side. I've seen things with the rods as well. But I often see energy trails. And because I'm short-sighted, I had to learn how to see energy trails. I had to learn to see auras, basically. Oh, Puddy Tat's wowling. Puddy Tat wants his food. Well, I've already fed him once today. Bowl is probably empty again, but that's no excuse. So yes, spirits, it's the time when the veils are thin, yes, because things become sharper. So in other words, crisper and clearer. And if you do get something that you see, it's not a horror movie. Horror movies have done lot of damage. You just stop. You just hold space for a minute. You be still. See if there's anything more that it wants to show you. You almost want to say hi, but don't. I wouldn't advise talking. Sometimes the Fae are not human, and you listen to they don't want thank you, they don't want hello. It's almost just like a nod or a bow, and that's about it. There is some that is required, especially in the English Fae. Sometimes it's not really looking at them directly is a good thing. You know they're there, but just avert your eyes and just sort of nod as if to say, I'm not looking at you. You know, you should never thank the Fae. The Irish also have kind of etiquette that is required for spirits, and it depends on what type. It's basically the trees have a lot of things that hover around them sometimes. Depends on the tree and depends how old. Anyway, I divert. I always do. I ramble on. But, okay, things like conkers and spiders. The old tale that conkers repel spiders has no scientific basis, though it's a fine excuse to pocket them as talisman. I like conkers. They're nice and smooth. They're pretty. Some folklorists argue that chestnut's gloss represents protective magic. Maybe. So these are some facts that I threw in. The burnished copper and crimsons are anthocyanins. I couldn't pronounce that. I could spell it, but I looked it up. Pigments that may protect the leaf from some damage as nutrients are absorbed. Science, yes, but no less. Samhain fires. Bonfires at Samhain were once lit on hilltops across Britain to frighten away ill-willed spirits and strengthen the tide. Today we call it Bonfire Night, 5th of November. Remember the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason and plot. There's a second verse to that. I'll remember it probably later. Swap spirits for politicians in effigy, which is what they've been doing for years. I remember them sort of burning the guy. And it used to be Guy Fawkes, but now they just make a politician. And usually it's raining and it's miserable and it's cold. But it's fun because we go, ooh, ha, we've got all that to come. Yes, there's always like the time of year when farmers discuss the size of their marrows. Yeah, it's allotment time. Allotments are a wonderful thing. The governments have threatened to take them away. I've had a couple of them in my time, but because I keep moving on the canals, I can't keep one. Sometimes it's just too far to travel and I might be gone for sort of a while. So, yeah, the allotments is where people can they kind of rent a bit of land from the council and you pay a tiny bit of money, very little money, and you get a strip of land. And it dates back to World War II, where they needed, probably even further actually, but it became popular then because when food was rationed you could grow some in the allotment, and sometimes you can have chickens, and yeah, it's a lovely thing where there's like a whole bunch of strips of land put aside for people who want to grow stuff and don't have enough space in their gardens or don't have a garden. And as I said, I had one a few years back and it was nice, but it was hard work, but it was nice. I got some good raspberries. I also love the herbs and stuff. I've got a little garden on my roof of my boat. It's, yeah, old Pussycat there, he uses it as a dirt box sometimes, which I can't complain because if he doesn't want to get off the boat and go, I'd rather he did use the garden. But anyway, allotments. It's the time of year where everything is harvested, and you get country fairs, and yeah, it's kind of pleasant. So there's lots of berries out there, and you've got slow berries that you can turn into gin. I've never made gin. I ought to try one day. I haven't really got much space to do a whole bunch of hobbies. Okay, need some. So it's a hinge. The hinge of a year. Not the henge, the hinge. Trees gather their strengths, and night calls us inward. The dark moon slips across the sky like a conspirator. We're invited not to release, but to root, to take the scattered fragments of our year, compost them and draw nourishment from the mess. It's tempted to rush on and pretend winter is a mere inconvenience. Yet if we can lean into this spiral, if we can gather our strength as the oak and willow and ash and elm, then we can too rise when the spring arrives. Let the season be a reminder that autumn is not an ending, but a cunning rearrangement. The spiral goes in, it's the compost that becomes the feast. And perhaps most importantly, it's the time we're given permission to wear socks. Preferably not with sandals, unless nobody's going to see you. So that's one of my blogs. If you can find my blog on katesylvanus.substack.com, I'm putting together. I've got two. I've got the radio one is now, so this will go onto the radio of Substack. So there's katesylvanus.substack.com is where you'll find a whole bunch of my blogs. Now let's see if I can find the next segment. I'm beginning to weave these together. Okay, so yeah, it'll take time before I'm good. I get that. Autumn and the Spiral. Yeah, that's pretty much covered. I've got all kinds of notes for all kinds of things. This one is what pagan actually means. I ought to do something with that one as well. It's tough when you have to stand alone. You're not the same as everybody else, and you stand alone. And it's tough, and that's who I'm reaching out to. If this doesn't make sense to you, then I don't have much of a community. I don't have much apart from online. I have lots of friends on Facebook, and they've been friends for couple of decades, but I have a few scattered friends that are good friends that are scattered about the country, and I see them when I can. But the communities, I don't feel like I have a community, so I'm creating one. I invite you to join this community. Come and be part of the community. If you feel you're alone and that like the world is going in a direction you can't follow, I can't follow where it's going. I tried. I can see the dangers. I'm not part of the world, but not of it. So I go on X and I see the horrible murders and assassinations. I'm not immune to it. I feel for the people that have lost. But I'm powerless, and I hate being powerless. Now all I can do is send Reiki and blessings, but they don't want that. They don't really want you unless you seem to agree with everything they say. And I respect that guy, the American that was just shot, James T. Kirk. No, yeah, something like that. Charlie Kirk. I didn't know of his. He was on a few things but he's Christian. He's not part of who I am, and I can respect him, and I can really feel for him, and I also can see the shock waves that went around the world and the anger that is rising from it. I'm not immune. The collective unconscious has me in its net, and I can feel all that. But I am separate from it. I can't. He wouldn't want me to get involved. And then there was marches in England, and I went down to London and I marched, but I felt separate from everybody else. I didn't put my banner up. It wasn't a place for that. It was a place for Christian nationalism, and I'm not that. I don't believe that Britain is a Christian country. I can see the land. The land is not Christian. The actual soil itself is not Christian. So I'm doing this because I would like to reach out to as many people that feel detached from this. It's like it's not our path, it's not our way. Our way is our own way. It's going within, it's staying with the seasons, staying with the land, and that includes the cycle of death and the cycle of life and birth and rebirth and everything in between. I'm not here to grieve for things that I can't be. I can't be what they want me to be. So I'm working my way through it, and I'm working my way through the cycle and the wheel of life and the cycle of the year, and I'm finding my own path, and that means reaching out to not all of you. I totally accept not everybody will get this, and that's fine. But those that do, reach out, because you're not alone. We're going through a time of shadow. We're not scared. Not all of us are scared. Not all of us are frightened of change. Some of us look at change and go, hello, I know you. Maybe not old friend, but I know you. We've changed. We've rearranged our lives many times. We've been reborn like a phoenix over and over again. We know the routine. We know the spiral. It goes all the way down and then it comes all the way out. We know the path. And when we know it and the collective unconsciousness is freaking out because of it, you have to kind of step back as much as you are able to. It's all right, it will be all right. It's not the end of the world. It sounds trite, but it's true. It's not the end of the world. And I'm going to do these radio shows, whether I'm talking to myself, I don't care who I'm talking to. If you can hear this, it's for you. And we shall make it work. We shall stick together and know that your differences is beautiful. I love differences. I love people that believe different from me. I would have loved to have talked to your Charlie Kirk, but I would have been different from him. I wouldn't follow him. I don't follow anyone, to be honest. My path is my own, but I would have loved to have talked to him. But I'm not of that. I can talk to you, and I can talk to anyone, pretty much. But I have problems with people who can't cope with the fact that the world is different. Yeah, there is problems there. But anyway, we're going to move on. I've done more than half an hour today. Once I start putting this into rhythm, probably next week, I can't seem to add music. I will put some more music up, and I will put some more podcasts up, and I will see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Take care of yourselves and each other. Bye now.